Yeah, it's how you fix stuff.
Yeah. Hello. Hopefully, if you are watching this, you can see all four of us and the microphone should no longer be muted. Thank you for joining us. It is 2 p.m. on Monday, the 14th of October, 2019, and I'm joined by three very special guests to talk about the WordPress news. Now, let me get this right. I'm going to do this right from now on. I'm never going to get this wrong ever again. Look at this with supreme confidence. Over there is Paul Lacey. This means nothing to the guests because they can't see what's actually going on. But Paul Lacey, do you want to introduce yourself? Say who you are for those of us who don't know you. And please, Paul, keep it under 9 minutes.
You asked me a question last time.
Okay,
what? My intro. I can't help that.
What's your favourite hairspray?
So, Paul here from Dickie Red Studio. We're a WordPress and UX, I can't remember what I am now, WordPress and UX company in the UK. And I'm also brand ambassador for RunCloud. And recently as well, I've become the co-founder of the Matt Medeiros unofficial fan club. Matt's the other founder. He's the other guy.
Yeah. There will be no segues of that quality for the rest of this broadcast. But so that leads me perfectly to Matt Medeiros, first time on our little weekly news show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm sure you don't need any introduction, but I'll let you introduce yourself nevertheless.
Sure, Matt Medeiros, mattreport.com, and you can find me at my day job at pagelead.com.
If you want to listen to a high-quality podcast, chuck WP Builds in the bin and go to the Matt Report because it's significantly better than anything I make. And down there is Vito Peleg. Hi, Vito. Give us your little spiel.
Hey guys, so I'm Vito. I'm the founder of WP Feedback, which is a communication tool for WordPress professionals. Excited to be here as always.
Okie doke, thank you very much indeed. Now I'm just going to put myself on screen, and hopefully when that happens I'll just say, yeah, we are a WordPress related podcast. We're based in the UK, and in the UK at the moment it's chucking it down with rain really hard on my window, and also there's a man with a hammer outside my window who's hitting things very hard. So if you can hear all of that, I do apologise. We are doing something to do with the news, and the news you can find over here. If you go to the news archive on this little menu icon here, you'll find a whole list it's an archive. It's actually created with a plugin, this archive, and it's sort of misbehaving at the moment, so the archive looks a bit skew-whiff. But this is the one that we're going to be looking at today. It is number 84. And we're going to go through these articles. Now, what I do is I send these to the people who are going to come on the show, and sometimes they have the time in their week to sort of like decide that they're going to talk about things, and sometimes not. So if you have nominated yourself for one of these things, please let me know. Should we crack on with it, fellas? Okay, the first thing that we had today was about WordPress 5.3, which is in beta number 3. I think it's mooted to come out in November like 12th or something. Oh yeah, look, as if by magic, there it is on the screen. The 12th of November 2019, it's mooted. There's a bunch of minor changes. It's like very little to talk about, but they've fixed and enhanced the admin interface. They've made changes to the login screen. They've improved the accessibility in the media upload modal, and you can check it all out here, but it's not tremendously exciting. And unless anybody has got something of deep importance, I think we should carry on.
Yeah, no big statements here.
No. Okay, right. In which case, the next piece is all about the image handling. Now, I think this is actually worth mentioning, to be honest. This is over on WP Tavern, as pretty much everything that we ever talk about is. WP Tavern, by the way, I don't know if you've been following this story. When Jeff left a couple of months ago, he's now been... well, I don't want to use the word replaced, but he's somebody new. Justin Tadlock has taken over on a full-time basis, and although this particular article is by Sarah Gooding, I'm sure we'll come across some of Justin's stuff in a minute, and I just think he's doing a fabulous job. Really, really good job. So in that beta 3, we've got some changes to the way that WordPress handles large images. They're now going to essentially, when you upload a large image, by default, WordPress is going to say this is the maximum size that you can throw at us, because, you know, with the advent of the iPhone and amazing cameras, they're getting a bit ridiculous and you're sort of clogging up your storage space. So WordPress 5.3 is going to cap this. I can't remember what it is. Default threshold of something like 2.5k pixels wide. something like that. And it will still, as always, save the original image. So there's nothing particularly exciting there. It's still going to be stuck on your server using up loads of space. Nevertheless, I think that's quite a significant change. Anybody on that one?
So they're saying that it's automatically going to be minified?
Yeah, so it says many WordPress users don't consider the size of the image they are uploading to their sites, and modern smartphones, blah, 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 everything that I just said. WordPress 5.3 will automatically detect images that are larger than such and such and generate a web-optimized maximum size. And you can get this through a bunch of functions. So yes, that's exactly what they're going to do.
I wonder what the environmental impact would genuinely be on something like that.
We need to ask Jack Lennox. No doubt he's...
because he spoke about that recently, didn't he? About making super fast themes to save on emissions. I mean, if you think that WordPress is, eventually does hit that 85% target, or then what would that mean if there was just massive images downloading all the time and stuff? So I guess it's a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't quite realise the importance of the whole environmental thing, but if you can get the size of your web page down significantly, the footprint that you generate is really extraordinarily smaller. And you use a lot less power and energy and so on and so forth. But I think that's good. I do think this is, it's the sort of change that we needed. Yeah, why not? Why not? Good idea.
Well, it's not big enough to replace like WP Smoosh and all of these kind of plugins that do this on purpose, I guess, but it is great for others. Just managing clients that don't really understand the concept of size of image and this kind of stuff. That's perfect, and for us as well, because people are uploading images directly onto the dashboard. The clients that upload the images directly to the dashboard through our tool. So that's actually a great announcement for me to give to my group.
It does make the point in this article. Like I say, Sarah Gooding wrote this, that it's not intended to replace things like Smush and the rivals WP Compress and all those kind of things, because it won't posthumously go back. I got in the word posthumously. I'm very pleased with myself. It won't go back and sort of like fix up images that have been uploaded in the past. It's just going to take the task of doing them as they fly in. Wow. So there you go. Those plugins still have a purpose and a place. But there you go. All right, that seems to be the end of that one. Right, community news. I confess with this one, not really all that sure about who these guys are. Going back to WP Tavern. Is it Justin? Yeah, there you go, Justin Tadlock. So Macho Themes, which is just such a great title for a business. I've not heard of them before, but Macho Themes. They're behind something called Modular Gallery. They've acquired 3 new plugins. One's called Final Tiles Grid Gallery Lite, Photoblocks Grid Gallery, and the third plugin is Ever Lightbox. I guess this just speaks about the whole coalescence in the WordPress space and how the big names seem to be taking over everything. Anybody ever play with these? Got any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I did some research into Macho Themes. I hadn't heard of them as well. I've obviously heard of Modular plugin because that was an AppSumo deal a while ago. But it turns out that Macho Themes actually created the first ever staging plugin for WordPress. It was way back in 1985. It was called WP Schwarzenegger. And when you sent your files over to the staging, it said "I'll be back." But years later, they've moved into the gallery space, and so they obviously have the modular plugin. But on a more serious note,
in case anybody didn't recognise that as humour.
On a more serious note, it's obviously it's a gallery plugin buying up a bunch of other gallery plugins, and we've had that in the WordPress form space as well. And I was interested in what Matt thought about this because I've listened to a lot of Matt's stuff, and he's interested in. I know he talks a lot about the business side of WordPress and the growth side of WordPress. So with one plugin company buying a bunch of other galleries and seeing that all over, what does this mean to the general WordPress space? Because you've got like the open source movement trying to grow massively, and then you've got this kind of empire building it seems to be going on in hosting, plugins, themes, all this sort of stuff, and I wonder where it's going actually.
Yeah, I've known of Macho Themes for quite some time. I did a couple reviews on their plugins a while back, And this is just a natural evolution of where everything in the WordPress space is going for these, I don't want to use the word generic, but these just big sweeping, must-have plugins, forms, galleries. I was looking at Elementor's gallery solution the other day, and they're adding that to their, what I'll call their platform. So this is like a must. This is a must for anybody who sits in that space. And right now it's about acquisitions of numbers, getting more customers. And I'm just curious where this all goes. Do they just get scooped up by an Elementor in a year from now? Looking at the landscape, it's like you have to be all things to all people to really move the needle, which I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad yet for us small time, product creators out there. But it's just another move that's just needed for this company. Right?
It does seem to be the way, doesn't it? Everything is seeming to be bought up. That seems to be the direction of travel as far as I can see it anyway. So yeah, Macho Themes buying up 3 others. Apparently 2 of them are going to be rolled into Macho Themes kind of core product and taken on in that way. And the third one that I mentioned, can't remember what it was called, Ever Lightbox, will remain as a standalone plugin. So if you're using any of those, and apparently 60,000 active installs are using it, so it's obviously fairly large, you might want to check that piece of news out and see what's the scoop with your license and so on and so forth. Okay, right, this is quite an interesting piece of news. The final one under this sort of community section that we have, and again, it may be that Matt can make more sense of this because I genuinely haven't a clue what the importance of the word Supreme Court decides are, but the words Supreme Court decides figure very heavily at the beginning of this article because it says Supreme Court denies Domino's appeal to determine whether websites must be accessible. Apparently, there was a chap whose name I'm going to absolutely massacre, Guillermo Robles, who, according to this, is blind. He was on the Domino's website and app in 2016 and was unable to make a purchase. And so he's taken this right to the top. I don't know how in the US it gets right to the top, but it has ended up right at the top, the Supreme Court. And to cut a long story short, they have decided that yes, he was right, Domino's were wrong, and everything should be accessible from this point going forwards. First of all, Matt, have I got that right? If the US Supreme Court kind of says something, does that mean that's it from now on? That is it?
I don't know if you've witnessed the landscape of U.S. politics lately.
No.
I don't know how anything works, to be quite honest with you. I think it's a couple of tweets and all of a sudden there's a war. I don't know. I don't know how any of this stuff works. I think the proper framework, and I haven't been following this particular, I don't even want to say case, but this particular topic other than reading headlines.
Yeah.
What I've read through this, though, is that they didn't make a change or a judgment on any of this stuff. They just denied the fact that they will not take on Domino's appeal, right? So U.S. Supreme Court is obviously the highest court circuit in the U.S., and they just said, no, we're not going to take this on, for lack of a better phrase. It has not directed us to do anything. It is seen as a win for accessibility. And I think that's like the general consensus of this piece. Reading through the comments, there's some great nuggets in there from some people who chimed in. This is a great win for accessibility in terms of, there is some spotlight on this stuff, which normally doesn't get any, big headlines, especially with Domino's. Not that I eat Domino's, but it is a large player in the U.S. market. And again, it'll be interesting to see what happens from it. If you read through the comments below, this is an opportunity for, web developers out there or other agencies to take hold of this and be able to, offer these services to local governments or to bigger businesses, right? To make sure that their sites are accessible. Because like we saw with GDPR, data protection, and all of this stuff, this is just the seed, and it will, continue to flourish over the years, and positioning yourself now to be able to help sites and organizations get more accessible is going to be a win for everybody. So there's no sweeping change. It's not all of a sudden like, it's not the year 2000 effect where all of a sudden everyone's worried the next day, but it is definitely something that is gaining some traction here.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, that's really interesting. You've certainly given it a different perspective than I had. I hadn't really understood the part about it. It just means they're not taking it on. I'm actually just reading it now, and to quote, it says, if you run an online business, it's past time to make sure your website is accessible. It could be years before the current law is amended or new ones are written on the legislative level. The winds of change will likely not favour those with inaccessible websites. In a nutshell, businesses and websites, apps or other online presences need to make sure that all people have access to their goods and services, and it goes on and on in that tenor. So yeah, I guess look out for a theme labelled as accessibility ready, and then Justin does make the point that I suppose a bit like something like SEO, this is not a case of get a theme that says it's accessibility ready and you're done. It's going to be tweak constantly, and just keep an eye on things as you go. And then somebody in the chat has said US Judiciary District First Court leads to Circuit Appeal Court leads to Supreme Final Court. Okay, so there's a hierarchy there that I fully didn't understand. Thank you for alerting us to that. That's great. Liam Tulan, I think, wrote that. Thanks very much. Oh, I could put it on the screen. Let me add it to the broadcast. Look how exciting. Look, there's Liam's comment popped up. Technology is fabulous stuff. Right, let's get on with it. The next one
I was going to say,
go on, please, Paul.
The accessibility piece. When you have a building, like an extension on your house or something built, the builder just won't do it. If there is, if you say, can you do this like this, and the builder will say, no, you can't have that, and the house, the person who's commissioning a house or a building says, okay, what can I do? It feels like in the digital world, in web, the builder, as in the agencies, are often in situations where they are just told to do this, and so sometimes it makes me wonder where's the bottom line of who's responsible for, you can give out advice that you should do this, but at the end of the day, if someone says to you, this is exactly what I want, I'm not paying you unless you do it like this. Obviously you want to move away from those sort of things like Matt said and go towards reposition yourself, but I think that in the whole world of web there's just so much confusion about what digital accessibility looks like compared to in the physical world of what people are used to seeing in buildings and stuff. So it just feels like there's such a long way to go for business owners who aren't digital savvy to understand, the decisions that they make and the things that they ask their agencies and freelancers and whatnot to do.
My take on this, because when I started building sites in Tel Aviv, it was just around the time where it became a law. So I've been through this revolution in one country before, and it was a huge mess for the first couple of years, that's for sure. Apparently there was just like one attorney, that was assigned to make sure that all the websites around the country are accessible. One guy, and everyone was just like asking him questions for, like, he had a backlog of 2 years of questions to answer. Hopefully in other places they'll do it better, but the way that it was structured, and I think that this is the same in the States as well, there's levels to it. You have like a 2As, that's the standard kind of level, and then it goes all the way to 6As as far as I know. And if you want to get to the 6As kind of level, you gotta have it, it's like accessibility from the core. So you start with accessibility as you're creating the architecture of the website and so on. But for most small businesses, and I imagine that's the target audience that we have here, just splashing on a plugin to change contrasts and to make sure that fonts can be increased. There are a bunch of basic accessibility plugins that, like Nathan is saying, needs to be adapted a little bit. So you got to tell them on which places it needs to be on or off. There's kind of a tagging situation within most of these plugins that you tell them this is the headline, this is this thing, so they react accordingly. And that's enough for not getting sued. In terms of responsibility, the responsibility in our mind is on the business owner's side, because it feels like we're selling them the website. But in reality, or at least how it was over there, the responsibility is on the web designer. In the same way that you said, Paul, like with the constructor, like when you're building a building. It's on the architecture and on the engineer. That's on them, and they're liable if anything falls, if the building collapses or if there is problems with accessibilities and stuff like that. So that's the same situation here. In any case, you should have insurance, because we don't really know where these things come from, and it can happen on a website that you built 2 years ago and you're not even serving this client anymore. Then this law comes into place, and then they get sued, and then you get sued. So just to cover ourselves, we did even here in the UK, there's proper
professional
insurance.
indemnity insurance.
Exactly,
in the UK.
all this kind of stuff.
Great advice.
The insurance companies always manage to do well out of this stuff, don't they? It's so not.
We're in the wrong business.
Let's
gentlemen.
make some new legislation, make it really hard to implement, not necessarily in this case, and then we'll just insure ourselves against it. Right, the next one is, thank you for reminding me about this. I presume it was Vito. This is. Do you know what? Here's an interesting thing, right? I'm going to put us all back on. Every single one of us has, in some way, shape, or form, done something for WP and Up. Paul and Vito and Matt have all been on a podcast, and I myself have done those podcasts. Well, WP and Up this week have come out with this new Never Give Up campaign. You can find it at wpandup.org/never give up. Can I, because of my deep involvement in this, I want to make it absolutely clear at the beginning that, this is something that I'm personally involved in, so I don't want people to feel that I'm hijacking the agenda. I actually, for that reason, didn't put it in this news, but somebody, I think it was you, Vito.
Okay. Yeah, I know that you didn't put it because of that, but I think it's important.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you did, because essentially they require quite a lot of cash in order to keep their services going. So, typically there's a high cost to putting people in front of other people, to maintaining support lines and telephone networks and all of that kind of stuff. And so this campaign is a very honest, a genuinely honest campaign written by Dan Mabey, and he goes into how the charity, or non-profit if you like, is funded. He goes into how much it costs on an ongoing basis and how much he's put into it in terms of his time and his money. He lays out all the costs, and I just think it's brilliant from that point of view. And then he makes the appeal for, please, could we have some cash? And if you click on the Donate Now button, you get taken to WP and Up. No, you don't. You get taken to friends.wpandup.org/donate. And from there, you can pick a currency, pick an amount, pick whether you want it to be recurring or not, and you get a little, an indication of how much your money will actually buy. I want this charity to keep going forever and ever. I think it's deeply important. I think there's too many people in our space who are, isolated and struggling, and they could do with our help. And so thank you, Vito, for sneaking that one in. I really appreciate it. I don't know if anybody's got anything to say about that. I'd certainly welcome some support.
Yeah, just give generously. This is a very well needed charity within our community, and it's a subject that is very kind of being pushed under the rug most times. So it's great that these guys and that you, Nathan, are pushing this forward.
Okay,
I agree.
Thank you, Matt. I can't say how important it's been to so many people. I'm not allowed to say, but I've seen commentary from people who have accessed the services and it's completely revolutionised their lives. It's changed it for the better. It's put something on hold. It's taken something off somebody's back. So please feel free to go to that. Vito, you've snuck a couple of other ones in. You want to mention something about WordCamp Dublin, I think?
Yes, WordCamp Dublin happening next week. There's just a few more tickets left, and it's supposed to be awesome. There's really interesting speakers, from what I've heard, they've done a really great job on previous years. So please come along. I'll be there. I'm giving a short talk as well. Leo is there. I think Leo is on the call here with us as well.
Yeah.
And just come over.
Yeah, thank you.
Be awesome.
So that's it'll be. I don't know what it'll be. I can't remember the URL. Go to WordCamp Dublin, type that into Google, and you'll get there and buy yourself a ticket. Also, you wanted to mention 48 and 48. We talked about them before. Another beautiful charity in the WordPress space. This time they actually build complete websites for people who can't afford to have them built themselves.
Exactly. So I just wanted to do another roundup here to let people know that the charity is still looking for volunteers for the London event and for events all around the world. Basically, what they do is they gather in a nice environment. Last time in London, it was in IBM here in the South Bank, and there's about 100 people with the main goal of building 48 charity websites within 48 hours. Really, really interesting process to learn from and to be part of, to see how other people are working under pressure, to test yourself in working under pressure. Even if you're a web developer, and that's not really very needed in this kind of space, because it's more about splashing designs with Beaver Builder. There's other functions that are always needed. And there's always need for people that know WordPress, because a lot of the people that are coming are from companies that are sometimes not even related to that, or they're working in big agencies that don't necessarily work with WordPress, so they have like UX skills or UI skills, but not really specifically in the WordPress space. So this year I'm leading the WordPress side of things, the WordPress support desk inside the event here in London. And come on, join us. It's gonna be awesome in IBM. 2 days over the weekend, food, great company, and a lot of stuff to learn. And of course, you feel awesome after this is done once you see all of the charities that didn't have any way of promoting themselves, and now they have a home online.
Yeah, nice, really nice. I think it's a superb charity. Is it Adam Walker that's behind that?
Adam, yes.
I think it's Adam.
No, not Walker.
Is it not? Apologies. I'm sure it's Adam. But
some kind of an Adam.
I apologize to Adam for
you know what happens, Vito? What happens after the 48? The theoretical 48 hours. What happens to these nonprofits after they get the site? Do they get these people long term for consulting? No.
So there is like a part of the work during the event is to help some backlog of support tickets and stuff like that once we have some time. But usually what happens is that they are offered a really, really reduced kind of price for hosting and for WordPress maintenance. I don't remember the name of the agency that does it, but they are the ones that initiated the charity as well. So they're doing it really at cost. We know that it's at cost, and just to help them. But if they don't want that, they just get the files and they can move on to whatever server that they want and keep managing this on their own.
Nice.
Got it.
It is Adam Walker. Just went
Walker.
Walker.
Oh yeah. I thought you said
doesn't matter. I think I probably did. If in doubt, blame me. That's the rule of thumb that I've always adopted throughout my entire life, and it's worked very well. We're talking now about plugins and themes. Breezy. I like this Breezy page builder. They've introduced this design kit. You just have to have a quick flick through. Man alive, they've dumped 500 of these blocks on the world all in one hit, which I think is pretty impressive. You've got this option to go from light to dark. You toggle it. Everything that was light becomes dark and vice versa. Pretty amazing, actually. I don't know if any of you had a chance to see those, but I like the way their stuff looks. Even though I'm not a heavy user of it, I do love the way it all looks. I'm very impressed with their designs and their blocks. It looks pretty cool. And, if Breezy is your thing or you are new to the market, this might be something that sort of pushes you over the line. Any thoughts on that? Lovely, lovely stuff.
It's got an excellent user interface, Breezy.
Yeah.
But it's funny because every time Dimmy comes on this show, he's always acting as if they are, they've not been doing much work and they're sorry about this and stuff. But they're clearly constantly doing loads of work and releasing stuff all the time. So
yeah.
It feels like Breezy is moving forward very quickly to me. So Dimmy, I don't think you need to worry that you're going too slow or anything.
I think it's the tyranny of having customers, isn't it? It doesn't matter how fast you move, it ain't quick enough. Yeah, they've divided them up into hero sections, features, contact gallery, etc., etc. And so just go and check them out. Now, last week it became a bit like comedic because the WP Builds podcast turned into like the advert for Kinsta. because we just kept mentioning them over and over again because it was funny. This week, it would appear we're going to be mentioning Brainstorm Force over and over again, not because it's funny, but because for some reason they've decided to dump a load of news all in 1 week. So there's 4 things that they've chucked at us this week, which is pretty impressive, actually. I suppose it's quite a good way of getting yourself a bit of attention. So we've got a new user registration form for Beaver Builder, the same thing over at Elementor, plus they've cleaned up a whole bunch of stuff on that Astra side, their theme, which is like growing at an exponential rate. And I know, Paul, you wanted to talk about this.
I need a little bit. Just I think the new registration form add-on for Beaver Builder, and obviously the same one for Elementor, is pretty cool. I haven't tried it. The problem is, I think that it would be really nice if maybe some of those add-ons would integrate with some of the member type sites. So, for instance, if you're using MemberPress, or in my case, Restrict Content Pro, that you could have the nice looking form, because Restrict Content Pro, the form looks not very nice out the box. So if you could use something like that with your membership system or your learning portal, LMS or whatever, that'd be great. I don't think you can, but I imagine the community might come up with something that solves that, because on one hand you've got these lovely ability to design registration forms, and I know with these ones you can add your own custom fields. So that's a really useful thing. And on the other side you've got kind of membership type systems that don't tend to have many form design options, and then to merge the two things together would be really cool. And yeah,
why can't you? Why wouldn't you be able to do it with that? It seems like it should be pretty straightforward with these forms.
I think, for instance, if you take Restrict Content Pro as one example, for instance, so you've got user registrations is one thing, and then belonging to a membership level within the plugin is another thing. So to make them really, really useful, it'd be great if those plugins would look at a bunch of the top membership systems or the LMSs and say you can tick a box and it adds them to a default membership level or something in MemberPress or Restrict Content Pro or LearnDash or Lifter or whatever. So they're very busy at the moment, though, Brainstorm Force. They're chucking out loads of stuff, really good stuff as well. PowerPack guys, I think they're called Beaver Brains. No, what are they called? PowerPack guys? IdeaBox Creative, yeah. They're pushing out a bunch of stuff as well. I've
noticed
Punit,
some new
modules turning up.
Yeah. It's a lot, isn't it? But to chuck all this stuff out in 1 week is pretty impressive. They've also got this Astra update. It's 2.1. It's a point release. It's not a big feature they're trying to tout, but nevertheless, 3 things in 1 week. They're making the claim that their code is going to load faster. It's something to do with taking stuff inline and putting it in a style sheet, or the other way around. Can't remember if it's putting stuff in a style sheet that was inline.
Putting it in a style sheet.
Yeah. There we go. And
they had some criticism recently in their community about the site getting a little bit bloated. So it seems that the last couple of updates, since 2.0 and now 2.1, have been performance-related things to make it run faster in the back end and faster on the front end and stuff. So it seems that they're listening and addressing those things. I mean, they developed so many new features in Astra so quickly. It's obviously, gonna have some kind of effect on the performance. So it looks like they're now reverse engineering some of the work that they've done.
Nice.
To clean up any of the problems that resulted in.
I really like this approach, and this is something that we're doing as well, taking the same kind of path, where you just build, like expedited kind of release, and then and then relax for like a couple of weeks, look back, see what you've done after you get the feedback from users, because not everything stays, and if you try to do things like 100% properly from the beginning, sometimes you're just wasting time on something that is not really relevant, but you don't know until you release it. So I like the kind of like the agile approach, and then going back and restructuring things and cleaning things up. I think that's a great way of doing it.
Do you remember this guy, Visual? Oh, sorry, Matt. I apologize. Carry on.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw out a question, maybe more specifically to Paul, doing some client work. Where do you look at all of these products? So the thing I really struggle wrapping my head around is just the sheer amount of features being pushed into, let's say, Astra Core Theme, Ultimate add-ons. I see things like Beaver Builder and Elementor. And from a business perspective, I sit back and I'm like, man, I don't want ridiculous amounts of features updating all the time because I might not want to support that for my customer. I might not want to, worry 2 years down the road, where all the stuff is going. And I'm just looking at like the Astra guys and I'm like, at what point do you build a page builder? Because you're literally, you've got all the blocks, no pun intended, in place here. You have the core theme, you have all these designs. I mean, what's stopping them? So do you look at all of these products and features and say, man, like I need to calm down. I need to pick one stable path for my business? Or do you welcome all of this rapid iteration?
Everyone's different, to be honest. I mean, in our case, we welcome less features, but we're probably in the minority in that situation.
Okay.
So, we think Astra's a great theme. We don't use it. We use GeneratePress because we're involved with them, and also they have a different philosophy. They are slower in development, a smaller team, but I know how stable it is. I just don't want sites breaking all the time. And we're using Beaver Builder. I wouldn't say that puts us in a minority. We're still in probably amongst millions. But, obviously the sway of the market is using Elementor these days. And so just for us, because we're coders as well, we don't even use all the modules in Beaver Builder. We add our own classes and use Sass to style things globally, but we're not in the majority of people doing it that way, I don't think. So I do see things where there's so much acceleration in these critical design tools leading to, can end up in tears for people when it all goes wrong for their clients. Or I was talking to someone, I won't mention what plugin it is, but I was talking to someone on Facebook chat the other day, and he moved from one product to another because he said that it was just giving him chills every time he saw the update button.
Okay, yeah.
And that's just not something that I want. So I try to avoid, some of the add-on packs. I do use the ultimate add-ons for Beaver Builder, but I would love to be in a situation where I didn't need to. Yeah. So personally, I try and be careful, some people are much more careful than I am. But I do think that you can easily get into the hype and put yourself in a load of risk that you don't realize you're doing, because it seems that everybody around you is doing exactly the same, so it must be fine.
Right.
But it is risky. You've got to do your own risk analysis of these sort of things and decide what's right. But
it's everywhere, and it's eating its way into Gutenberg, because I needed a block the other day for. Or I wanted a block, because now I've been embracing Gutenberg a little bit, and I wanted a block for table of contents for this big long form post that I was doing. And I basically wanted to create a long table of contents through my header blocks, right? So H2, H3s, whatever. And I found one, but I had to install all the other blocks to get one block. I had to install like 20 blocks to get one block. I could disable them. I could disable the other blocks, which I thought was cool, but they put the primary menu in the admin bar, the admin menu. And I was just like, do I really need this? I'm never going into these settings ever again. Do I need your logo screaming at me in the admin menu every single time I log into my site? So I didn't use it. So I was just like, I can't win. And, there'll be the block discovery repo in some months, maybe a year from now. I don't know. So then I see things like Ultimate add-ons with all of these blocks. I'm like, how are you going to slot into a block search repo world, right? Where you can't monetize this plugin for $120 when it's going to be one block somebody wants. So I see all of this like arms race to blocks, and I'm like, man, this stuff is going to get disrupted in about a year. It's
very
going to be
much
a totally
so.
different landscape.
Definitely.
I like the idea of just purchasing.
Sorry, I'm ranting there.
I like the idea of just purchasing like a $5 block. You could create a nice business there, couldn't you? Like, you buy the 7 that you need for $45 or whatever, and you leave all the others on the table, and that'd be nice.
But would you install 7 different plugins?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
No, it'd be nice to have like a kind of mothership block plugin that then every other block works with that. So if you want to use Cadence, if that's what it's called, blocks, for instance, they've got maybe 30, and then I installed that once because I just needed a better column situation, and I had 29 that I didn't need, like Matt said. and the client's looking at all those blocks, and new ones appear every other week. And
Right.
it would be great if I could just go, I like that one block that is in that set of 30 they've got. Can I just have that one?
Right.
There's not a way to do that yet, but who knows? There might be in the future, because I think the block marketplace, and like you said, the arms race for the blocks is out of control, and
Mental, yeah.
yeah, I mean, just you can imagine people with DIY sites having 5 or 6 different blog sets, and they've got 300 blocks installed on their site. So I think it's just going to have to sort itself out. I don't think that's going to work for very long. I think
Paul,
like I said, it's going to explode
Paul,
in a year or so.
I've just gone over to domains.google.com, and you'll be pleased to know that Mothership's blog.everything is available.
You
know.
you misspelled it.
Oh, have I? Oh, I have misspelled it. You're absolutely right. Oh, Mothership box. That's me all over.
Don't worry, it all redirects to Jet.
Yeah, there it is though. Mothership blocks. I love the idea of that, Paul. Mothership blocks. What a great idea. This one, blast from the past though. Check it out. Do you remember this guy, Visual Composer? It seemed like when I got into WordPress, that had reached the point of maximum coolness, and it was already starting to go out. Things like Beaver Builder were already coming on stream, and then obviously, you know, so on and so forth. But they've decided to take it open source this week. I didn't really get into the news behind this, other than that it's on the repo. I don't know if this is like a new version. They say here, brand new Visual Composer made entirely from scratch. No more shortcodes, blah, blah, blah. And yet then they post this video, and I watched it and sort of like scanned through it, whatever that's called, scraping my way through it, only to discover that in that video, as far as I could see, they didn't show you how the actual websites were built. So it kind of gave me the feeling that I wonder if it's the old-fashioned way of kind of setting up blocks and then interacting with them in a completely separate UI, rather than the kind of page builder that we're used to. But presumably out there are millions and millions of sites still using Visual Composer. So interesting that they've decided to go, open source on it.
At the London meetup, when I was there the other day, I was chatting to a guy who I met there, and I just asked him about what he did and stuff. And he worked for a really big agency that acquires lots of companies. And what do you use for then? You know, because they're rebuilding sites from Drupal. They're inquiring lots of sites for some reason that are in Drupal, and then getting them rebuilt into WordPress. And he said, we use Visual Composer. And at first I kind of wanted to snigger and feel really smug that I don't use it. But then I thought, don't be such a butthole about it. You know, it's like, I don't know what, you know, maybe it's a good product now, and I shouldn't, you know, judge and stuff like that. So I have heard that it's been completely reworked as a plugin and everything. But years ago, I got myself into exactly that problem Matt was talking about. When I broke up my company and started doing everything by myself for a while, I needed quick visual solutions, otherwise I was going to go out of business. And I started using Visual Composer in its very early days, and yeah, you know, stuff broke all the time because there was so many. I got more or less every add-on from plugin ThemeForest, whatever it's called. And so yeah, that's why I'm a lot more cautious now. But I think all I really wanted to say is we should probably give them another chance. You know, I know we're all a bit snobby about our tools and everything, but they've rebuilt it completely. I know JupyterX rebuilt their theme completely, and
I kind of like this
you know,
approach.
sometimes they listen to the community and change stuff up. So I wonder, it might be quite good.
I like what you're saying, Paul, about like a second chance, you know, because as we're progressing in this community, and it's been years, you know, that we've been working with the same tools. It's not the same. It's not the same tools, you know. So
No.
when I was working, like you're saying, with Visual Composer 6-7 years ago, it was a completely different ball game. I hope as it is now, and it's the same with a lot of companies. That, you know, a company is an organism. It grows and it shrinks, and it kind of like, it changes and it evolves. So, but if you get like bad rep at some point, sometimes it's like your stamp for life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what can be done about this, but this is a really interesting discussion to see, like, about some companies that are trying to make it better, but are still stuck with the reputation that they had a few years ago.
This is a conversation I had with Michael, the CEO, the creator of this product, a couple months ago on my podcast, and the numbers I don't know how he validated the numbers, but according to him, allegedly about 4% of the internet runs his product.
Good grief.
And he, what is, and Vito, you're absolutely correct, and Paul too, second chances. I saw his AMA that he did on Reddit, and you just have people coming out of the woodwork just screaming at him about this terrible bloated product that you have. And, he handled it with grace. He said, we're rebuilding, we're regrouping. And when I interviewed him, he's doing everything we all wanted to do. We wanted to start a sustainable company and be awesome at building something in tech. And that's exactly what he did, except he was the first one out there. It was like MySpace to Facebook. And he's got a bad rap for it. But he's got a small team, I think between 12 and 20 people spread out around Europe. And, he didn't ask for this. He just happened to build the first product, and it took off, right? It wasn't like he went out to build bloated products. It's just what happened with the tools that he had at the time.
Yeah.
Imagine getting that kind of growth this early on in the WordPress space. I'd have no idea what to do. I'd be buying a Porsche, but he didn't, and that's a different thing, right? That's the difference.
It is a very, very good point. Second chances. Yeah, really nice. I think you're right. I mean, when he and that company founded that product, there was no path to creating a page builder, so they did what felt like the best thing at the time. And my recollection at the time was that everybody thought it was revolutionary and amazing, and then of course it led to something. And of course history will show that the current iteration of page builders something will replace them, something better, no doubt, with AI, that we don't have to we just think of a website and it appears before our very eyes. Okay, very interesting stuff. Thanks for all of your input on that. It's really cool. There's a couple of things that came across as deals this week. Basically, we've got 3 things that came up on AppSumo this week, which are WordPress related. They're all from WeDevs. There's this thing called WP Project Manager Pro. There's WeForms, which is like a Gravity Forms replacement, and there's WP User Frontend Pro. I've got no experience with any of these, so caveat emptor if you check them out. I don't even know if they're still on AppSumo, but there you go. Another quick one that I wanted to mention was this came in an email to me, and I can't even remember. What the reason for the email was, but I presume it was just about this. And it's Paid Memberships Pro, and it's 50% off until I think the end of maybe today or something. End October the 14th. So it's called Paint It Black. So it's Paid Memberships Pro /paint-it-black. Go and get that. That's 50% off. Seems like a pretty good deal to me. And the other
it's
one,
like a CMYK website. Have you checked it out?
No, yeah. It is pretty interesting. Yeah, I didn't really look at the design.
You've got more colors, dude.
Yeah.
This isn't CMYK.
Yeah. And the other one was Vito. You're going to mention
it's a really
two.
Good plugin, by the way.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
So a couple of people, I think we know, Nathan, use this for their membership sites.
Okay. All right. So check that out. Yeah, Paint It Black, Paid Memberships Pro. And Vito, you wanted to mention Cloudways and some product called WP Feedback, which has got a deal on.
Right. We'll start with Cloudways. So basically once a year they do this massive giveaway. Last year it was for like $80,000, but it was a huge success. So they upped the game this year. And I think that every product owner in the space has been receiving messages from the guys to try and give some kind of a license into this thing and create some kind of a joint giveaway for the community. It's massive, and everyone is here. And it closes in 2 days. So if you want a chance of winning $170,000 worth of plugins and themes and stuff related to WordPress, now is the time to sign up there.
What could you possibly do with nearly $200,000 worth of plugins and things? It'd just be like complete crisis of options, wouldn't it? It's like, well, I don't even know which file do I open? And then what's this WP Feedback nonsense then? What's that all about?
Right. So, over the past few months, I've been working with Adam Warner, the real Adam Warner that we talked about before, and trying to set up some kind of a partnership together. GoDaddy didn't have anything like that, so we created one. And that's the exciting bit about this. This is the first time that they're doing something like that with a product, and we're piloting and we're basically the first ones that are doing this with them. If you have a GoDaddy Pro membership, which is free, if you have a GoDaddy account and you're managing clients through there, then you should get it, because you get basically managed WP, if you know what that is. You get that for free, and now you get 50% off of WP Feedback as part of this thing, which is kind of awesome in the sense that they're subsidizing some of it for their users. And that comes back to what we said before about companies that don't have the best reputation and are trying to do better, especially in the community. I think that GoDaddy are investing a lot of resources into trying to make this better. I heard that a year ago from Troy, who was talking about this back then when we were hanging out around this, and I could see the progress, and they're really trying to get them out of that bad reputation, bad management, and all these kind of stuff that happened. So what they're doing now is they're basically doing stuff for goodwill, and this is one of those things. Surprisingly, they're not taking anything from this. They're even sponsoring some into it, so that I, as a small product owner, can afford to give such a deep discount for their users, because they see the value to them. So if you have a GoDaddy account, go and claim it.
Nice one. Thank you, Vito. Very cool. Right, I'm going to rip through the next...
Kinsta is one of the testimonials, by the way, on that page.
Sorry?
If you go to that page, there's a testimonial by Kinsta.
Good grief.
Yes.
Can I just point out that I didn't say that? It wasn't me that said those fateful words. Right, so 3 security things. WebArcs have got an article which, look, 30% off apparently for 2 hours left. It's all about their insurance. We mentioned last week that they've got this like insurance policy where if you spend a certain amount of money, they'll fix your site. I think this basically goes on to that. And this particular article is all about the fact that you can now do backups. And I mentioned this last week, and I thought I'd dig the article out. This is something on Wired. It's all about DDoS campaign, which is causing havoc over the internet at the moment. And last but by no means least, on the security front, iThemes Security Roundup. Just sort of mentioning a problem that they've had in their iThemes Sync plugin, which is kind of interesting that they've got a security solution. And this week they've had a problem with their iThemes Sync. So if you're using that to sync your sites, then maybe go get it updated ASAP. What else are we going to mention? A couple of things. We did a podcast. This is the massively self-promotional bit. We did a podcast, David and I, with the enormously clickbaity title, Marketing Funnels Don't Exist. Of course they do. I'm sorry for the offence that I caused. But the point was, you don't have a funnel where all the water goes in the top and the same amount of water comes in out the bottom. You have a leaky funnel, rather like a colander, where you put people in the top and about 90% of them drip out the sides. So that was what that was about. And this one is lovely. This is WP Mint, which is by our good friend Chris Hughes. And I thought I'd plug his product or service. He's got this like care plan company called WP Mint, and I'm
Mint WP.
Sorry, and thank you, Mint WP.
That's all right.
And essentially, if you don't want to take care of your WordPress websites post building them, then Chris will happily take that role on for you. And he's offering 25% off, so they should have been in the deals section. Code WP Builds. If you want to get in touch with him, he'll give you 25% off. And I just thought that was really nice, because that was just him in our community being nice. There were no jobs in our job section until Vito came along.
Yes.
Vito, have you got a job?
I do. Well, I have a job for myself. That's that's for sure. But it's too much, so I'm trying to kind of like get people to support me now. So we've grown the team to 8 guys in the past 4 months. And now I need a lead developer that will take this part from me and will help us take things to the next level as we'll keep expanding the team. There's already like 5 developers working full time on the tool, and someone needs to manage them. So this is actually a London-based role, even though I might consider people from other places working remotely, because most of the team is working remotely. Nathan, do you have the link to pull up?
I don't, sadly. Hold on a minute. Let me see if I can grab it from your bits and pieces. You see, when I right-click on a Google Doc... Oh, no, there you go. Yeah, I've got it. If you right-click on a Google Doc, it gives you the Google Doc options. No, I've got the wrong link, Vito. Where's it gone?
I know.
There it is. Got it. Hold on. Let me grab it, and I'll put it on screen. What are you requiring from this successful candidate?
Right. So first of all, they have to have experience managing a team. They have to have experience in WordPress. Also, with our new dashboard, Laravel and React.js comes into place. So that also should be in the game. And more than that, just I'm a really fast working guy, like a 10x kind of attitude. So the people that work with me need to understand that. They need to know that we're here to make something huge. So this is a huge opportunity, but also going to be a lot of work.
Good for you, Vito. Thank you so much. You're the first person to list a job. That's it. We're done with WordPress. If anybody can still stay on the call, we can tackle some of these non-WordPressy stuff. But if anybody needs to go off because it's 3:00, we managed to get through the WordPressy stuff. And I'll keep going. And if anybody just disappears off the call, I would say thank you for your time anyway. What's this stuff? WordPress? I don't even know what to make of this. This seems like it couldn't be real. There's this web company called Accessibee, who allege that if we were talking about accessibility earlier, if you pay them $490 annually, they're going to give you this sort of control panel. It looks a bit like Elementor or Beaver Builder or something, and you kind of go through your website. Maybe this is the fix. Maybe this is what Domino's needed. But there it is.
That's exactly what I mentioned. There are plugins that do this kind of thing.
What was that, Matt?
I said besides better pizza.
Yeah, Domino's is a thing here, but it kind of gets a bit of a bad rep. So yeah, accessibility powered pizza. Okay, the next stuff has got nothing to do with WordPress at all, apart from the fact that they've discovered an oasis on Mars. I just think that's so cool. I'm just totally nerdy about space and all that kind of stuff, and you can find out on the TechCrunch website that allegedly there was a place where there was water, a crater full of water and an oasis-like structure. So that's cool. There was an Apple app. Interrupt me if you've got anything to say. There was an Apple app which they removed this week because allegedly protesters were enabling themselves to avoid the police. And presumably, the authorities in Hong Kong reached out to Apple and got them to pull this app, which kind of led to the inevitable backlash by people saying, "How dare you pull this useful app?" But obviously, Apple has to tread that journey very, very delicately. Expression Engine is now under new ownership. Better Proposals have got some new templates, and Chrome, probably the most important one. Chrome has announced that it's going to stop mixed content from 2020. What that basically means is if you're serving up content which is HTTP as well as HTTPS, it's simply going to block the HTTP stuff. We knew this was coming. Everybody should have taken care of this ages ago, but they haven't, and so Google are going to force you to do it. I'm done.
Which is a great opportunity for agencies and freelancers now to reach out to past customers, create a bit of an upsell around this thing. Everyone that didn't do it now. These are once a year. There's this kind of opportunity for an upsell. I think this is this year's one.
Okay.
Last year was GDPR.
Yeah. No, we don't want that. We don't want this year's GDPR. We don't ever want anything like that ever again. That's it. Paul, did you want to say about Better Proposals, or are you happy?
Yeah, just I had a look because I've got Better Proposals. It's an awesome tool for creating your own online proposals. I checked through the new list of the new templates. Some really good ones in there for kind of general marketing offers and stuff. But there's also some quite funny ones like plumbing proposal template, stuff like that. I don't know if you saw that, but I guess they may be widening who they can offer that to, because if you are a plumber, or the other one was a kitchen installation proposal or something like that. If that's what you do now, and and you're finding that people are expecting on all the stuff to be done online, And that tool can be marketed straight at those people for a small cost, and then they've got a really nice online proposal they can do every time someone wants a new kitchen.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Adam Hempenstall hit gold with that app, I think.
Clever guy.
Yeah, really nice.
Good job,
He's doing very well with it, I think. That's it. That's all we've got. We've run over slightly a few seconds. Thanks to everybody who joined in live. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Paul. I'm going to get it. Matt. And Vito. Yeah, I'm getting so good at this. The pointy finger. If you want to go in turn and say what you're doing, where you can be found, any self-promotional stuff, please do that. Paul, you go first, maybe?
So, not really anything work-wise to talk about, other than I just listened to this really good podcast this week. Let me just check what it's called. It was a podcast called the Jocko Podcast, which is a kind of American war veteran guy. And who did he interview? He interviewed a guy called Dakota Meyer, who is one of the only people apparently to get the what's the really good Medal of Honor. So he's one of the only people who was still alive to get a Medal of Honor. And it was just an amazingly inspirational podcast interview. That it doesn't matter if you've fought in Afghanistan or Iraq or not. I think anyone can just relate to it, because it was all about struggles, mental health, and all these different things that can happen to you, and the struggles of life. It was awesome. So a guy called Jocko interviews Dakota Meyer, so I totally recommend looking that up, because I was just blown away.
Nice. What a great ending. I like that, Paul. What about you, Matt?
I got nothing. And I got Pagely. That's what I do. I'm always interested to talk about business, community, and stuff like that.
Where can we find you? Just pagely.com or?
MattReport.com.
Yeah. Okay.
Best place to find me.
Go and listen to the mattreport.com. Unlike us who put it out every week, Matt does it in series, which actually means it's probably significantly better because he gets more time to think about it. But it's great. It is the podcast in the WordPress space. I love it. And finally, Vito.
I think I plugged my way through the broadcast.
Yeah, no more plugs. Just something personal. Go on.
Nothing much. Just been reading some interesting books. Going back to a couple of books that I've read a while ago, and now I'm kind of reiterating them. So the 10x rule, if you guys heard of that, it just gives you a huge boost of energy and a huge boost of motivation whenever you need it. The guy just shouts at you to get up and do stuff. So I like that. And to relax, I'm reading again Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind. When I say I'm reading, I'm actually listening to it.
Yeah, there's a debate as to whether that's reading or not. I sort of fall on the side of it's reading. You're still imbibing it somehow, aren't you?
Right.
I have a cautionary tale this week. I'm going to finish off, if that's all right, Vito, with my cautionary tale. Do not let your small child go near your laptop with a pint of milk. Because what happened this week to me is I got an entire pint of milk upended slap bang in the centre of my laptop keyboard, and watched as it sort of bubbled its way under the surface. It's behind me now. Paul's had a quick glimpse. It's sitting there. I've put rice in it. I'm trying everything, and I'm going to leave it for 72 hours before I get it on. But I think I'm going to claim the world's first smelly laptop award because it stinks. Anyway, there we go. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next Monday for the WP Builds Weekly News. Take it easy, guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.